was 7 years old, I told my parents I wanted to be a strawberry master. Well, I'm sure a lot of you haven't heard about this term before, so let me explain. I'd uncovered this term in a Japanese magazine, Strawberry Master. And according to that Japanese magazine, a strawberry master is someone who travels around the world, eats at the humblest noodle stalls and the fanciest pastry kitchens alike, only for one sacred mission: to taste perfection in a single bite of food. And in my 7-year-old brain, that was not a job. It was the whole meaning of life. Growing up, I've always been strangely attached to food. Well, not like the kind all kids love candy. I was more specific. While other kids will still trying to figure out which squiggle was P and which was Q, I could tell you, with my eyes closed, whether a dumpling wrapper had been rolled an hour ago or right before it hits the steamer. Food was never just feel to me. It's memory, it's language, it's love made visible. But the moments I loved most about food weren't the famous dishes. I don't remember one single moment clearly, but I do remember my mother's lap, us in a tea house, and old IE waiters push rattling trolleys through the narrow gaps between tables. And on those trolleys were towers and towers of bamboo steamers stacked so high they looked like they were about to topple over. My father would flag one down. We'd lift the lid and a cloud of steam would hit your face. Hot, fragrant, aggressive, like the breath of a sleeping dragon. Then we'd take that little card, the one that looked like a bingo card in games we played, and scribble down some numbers. Numbers like 1190. 1190 wasn't just a number, to be specific. 1190 represented hargao, xiajiao, shrimp dumplings wrapped in exactly 16 pleats. And on slow days, the chef would sit right there in the dining halls, a little table set up among the stations. And he'd chat with us while he worked, and his hands had a life of their own. Press, tuck, crib, and repeat. He didn't measure, he didn't weigh, he felt. The dough told him what it needed, like an old friend confessing a secret. He knew every single ingredient, every single formula by heart. And my parents also took me to the Chen Clan Academy in Guangzhou. It's a sprawling complex of ancestral halls, all in wood carvings and stone calligraphy. Normally, tourists would go for the architecture, but I went for the old man with the hammer. He was a bronze maker, and his hands were a map full of scars and bruises. And he had this big, big hammer that looked as heavy as my entire body. He'd take a thin sheet of copper and clang, 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 shape it into something that once seemed impossible. He told me that copper has a special temper, that you cannot force it to do anything. If you're too hard on it, it breaks. If you're too soft on it, it hardens really quickly. You have to find the exact rhythm hidden that it wants. We bought so much from him over the years: pots, plates, spoons, each one slightly imperfect, but still each one irreplaceable. And that's the world I grew up in. A world where the things we held and the things we ate still carried the echoes of hands that made them. But now, last year I went back to the Old Town Road in nearly a decade. I took a friend to where that tea house used to be. We went inside, but the trolleys were gone, the IE waiters were gone, the steam was gone. We sat down, opened our cell phones, tapped, paid. all without saying another word to another human being. And the food came out really fast, 3 minutes. It was perfect. It was correctly color-coded, it was neat, it was clean, just normal food you would see on an Instagram post. But the harga was gummy. The changfen was cold. Its edges as sharp and cold as plastic. And also I went back to the bronze maker's workshop. But it was a completely empty stall. We asked around, and the security guards told us that he moved back to his village 2 years ago. People now wanted stainless steel coming from IKEA, not some handmade bronze. And I started taking a deeper look at what's happening right now. In 2025, China's frozen food market was pushing 2 billion yuan, and the pre-made dish market was over $500 billion. 1 in every 3 first-tier restaurants in cities in China now serve either fully or partially made pre-made food. Take Xibei as an example. It was once China's most beloved food chains, built on the promise of fresh and handmade food. But earlier, customers started accusing them of using pre-made food. And journalists were invited into the kitchens for investigations. And what exactly did they find? Frozen lamb chops of a 2-year shelf life, frozen and seasoned fish for 18-month shelf life, bags and bags of pre-made and pre-fried everything. Sauces, vegetables, even the scallions. The brand that had promised tradition had quietly replaced it with efficiency and speed. And most of us didn't notice, because most of us have forgotten what real food tastes like. And the same automation that's flattening our food are flattening our crafts as well. In Guangdong province alone, dozens of traditional handcrafts like jade carving, bamboo weaving, and Cantonese opera masking are on the verge of extinction. The number of certified inheritors, people recognized by the governments as masters, are declining by 10% in every 5 years. In fact, many of them are over 60 years old right now, and most are over 70 years old. And as they leave this world, the knowledge goes with them. Not because they didn't want to teach, but because no one stayed to learn and listen. According to a report from UNESCO, we've lost over 1,000 distinct craft techniques in the past 30 years. That's 1 in every 10 days, a death every week and a half. And each one is a magnificent, beautiful, massive building, a library of knowledge and compassion burning down to the ground. I wanted to be a strawberry master because as a child, I thought paying attention was a job. But now, I think it's just something we're all supposed to do. Something we've all forgotten how to do. And the cost isn't just bad dumplings. The cost is the slow, quiet, almost invisible disappearance of knowledge that took generations to build. It is a loss of a world where things were made by the people who knew them, who touched them, who cared enough to get them right. And I'm not saying we have to smash every QR code. I'm not saying we have to refuse every delivery order. Technology is not our enemy, and convenience is not a crime. But convenience without consciousness is just consumption. And consumption without care is a kind of amnesia. We can ask questions. We can go to the tea house that still has those trolleys and ayi waiters, even if it's a bit further away from our house. And we can buy 1 teaspoon from a craftsman instead of 10 from a factory. And we can, once in a while, put down our phones while we're eating and truly think about the food. Does it feel like speed, or does it feel like care? Because when we stop paying attention to these crafts and these food we eat, the world doesn't just get more convenient. It gets quieter, it gets colder. Your culture becomes a distant memory of yours before you even had a chance to say goodbye. Now, I want you to take one thing from my speech today. How we live is what we pass on. What we pass on is who we become. If we pass on indifference, we become indifferent. If we pass on hurriedness, our culture, our society becomes hurried. But if we pass on attention, if we pass on the beautiful, ridiculous act of caring for a single spoon, a single dumpling, a single moment, then we become something else. We become the kind of people who hold on to the small and sacred things, the kind who honors the hands that make, the flavor that linger, and the moments that make life feel alive. Thank you.